Hello, my name is Randy Schrader. How I wish I could be with you personally right now to help you correctly get started. My objectives are so very, very simple. I want to help you not waste time, not waste effort, not waste energy, and not waste money. I want to help you become more profitable more quickly, and ultimately, I want your big success to be predicated on the widespread successes of people in your group. And let me tell you that as we began, even though I don't know your goals and your objectives, this is my belief. Whether or not you believe it, I believe that you have the talent required to succeed in magnificent fashion. That's the good news. The bad news is that in our business, talent makes no money. It is skill properly applied that does. And it's to that relatively small percentage of people who work and work and work and work to refine those talents into skills that become useful to others. These are they who really succeed. With that as a backdrop, again, we're so much that I were face-to-face with you. Let's get started. I'd like you to have this visualization with me. Imagine that you're standing at the bottom of a staircase. We're going to climb a flight of stairs. You'll climb it first for yourself, and then over the course of the next 3 months and 6 and 12, as you grow into a leadership capacity in our company and in your organization, you're going to climb these stairs again and again as a guide for other people. And our simple objective will be to help every person who joins MonaVie in your organization to, just as I proposed to you, become more profitable more quickly. So we stand at the bottom of this flight of stairs. Step number 1 is an easy one. It is to enroll in MonaVie. It is simply to enroll in MonaVie. In order for you to do so, there's a couple of simple actions you'll need to take along this staircase. Find out from your proposed sponsor, find out from the person who's invited you to become a participant in this great company, what his or her distributor ID number is. You'll need that distributor ID number in order for you to enroll in our business. Having found that distributor ID number, now simply go to www.monavie.com and there enroll. That is step number 1. It's simple. Step number 1, enroll in MonaVie. And frequently when I'm talking to groups of people, I will ask them in advance if I can show you specifically and exactly and absolutely with no luck or guesswork how to succeed. I mean how to really succeed. If, in fact, I can show you how to become a black diamond, are you willing to do it? And always the whole crowd raises its hands. And I'll ask you right now, are you willing if I can show you? And almost universally people say yes. It's so easy to say yes with your lips, and it's so hard to say yes day after day with the actions required to succeed. I'm also asked periodically, is there a single characteristic that is most prevalent among those who succeed the greatest and the biggest way? And the answer is yes, it's willingness. You're going to get a chance to prove your willingness. First step, prove your willingness right now. If you haven't done so, push pause and enroll in MonaVie. That is step number 1, enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is similarly a pretty simple step. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Notice I didn't just say to place an order. It is to place an appropriate initial order. And of course, by now you know you can become a MonaVie distributor without placing an order. I'm not teaching you how to simply become a distributor. I'm teaching you how to become more profitable more quickly. And of course, we earn income in our business when products are purchased from MonaVie, when products flow through your organization. Step number 2 is for you to place an appropriate initial order. Appropriate for what? Appropriate for you to consume, enjoy, and experience the benefit of the MonaVie product. It's so that you can personally become an advocate, not simply an advocate of goodwill, but so that you can personally describe your own life experiences consuming MonaVie. And all these years later of success in the industry, I can tell you that I have never found a product to be so perfect for our industry as is MonaVie. It is simply amazing. Tara and I, our family, we love the product. I'm satisfied that you will too. Well, step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. What's an appropriate initial order? I believe that an appropriate initial order is one that allows you to have juice for your own consumption and also for you to have product on hand to sell to another as you engage in the business, for you to have product on hand, for you to provide samples to other people. Steve Merritt is a crown black diamond in our business, and one of the great ways that he illustrates and teaches this is to simply imagine that we're in a different kind of a business. Imagine that you're not in MonaVie. Imagine that we're in a flower business. Well, if you're in a flower business, what would you have to have? You'd have to have some flowers. Is there anyone among us who would buy flowers only for our own home? No, of course not. We would also buy flowers so that if someone came along and wanted to buy some, we would have inventory on hand. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. I believe that suggests that you should buy product for your own consumption, and you should buy product so that as you engage in the business building activities, you have bottles available to sell to others, you have bottles available to provide to others as samples. Step number 2, place an appropriate initial order. One must consider the following. What is your goal? What is your financial circumstance? What is your willingness to work? There is not an order that is appropriate for everyone. It becomes personal. What is your goal? What is your financial circumstance? What is your willingness to work? Within that overall context, I encourage you to place an order that is appropriate for you, an order that has both MonaVie product for your own consumption and MonaVie to use in the building of the business. You determine for yourself what is appropriate for you. Step number 1, enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Now, were I with you, right now, with you, face to face, we would stop this discussion and I would help you to place your own order. And so now I encourage you to once again push pause. You've logged into your back office. You enrolled in MonaVie. Now would be an appropriate time to identify for yourself what is your own appropriate initial order and to place that order. Very, very difficult to progress in our business until step number 2 has been completed. In fact, I want you to imagine that you're climbing up a flight of stairs. Is it wise to skip stairs? When I was younger, I used to skip stairs quite often. As I get older, I skip fewer stairs. What happens when you skip stairs? Quite often you fall on your face. What do I think will happen if you skip steps in this business? The risk is that you'll fall on your face. Step number 1, enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2, place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3 is to establish auto ship. You know, this is such an interesting concept. What is auto ship? Auto ship is when you put your credit card on file with the company and you tell them in advance what you want to receive next month. It's really a misunderstood principle in our industry. You know, I remember I had one of the most amazing experiences in all of network marketing. Back in September of 2001, I had built a large and successful business. I was a distributor. The company sold, and I no longer was happy with the direction of the business. It was still a great company, but in my estimation, it was no longer a great opportunity. I didn't want to stay involved with the business, and I sold my distributorship. What an amazing thing it was. I sold my distributorship for $7 million. And for so many times since then, people said, Randy, how could that be? How in the world did that happen? It's because I had 68,000 people on auto ship in my business. That's what made it real. That's what made there be a quantifiable and identifiable cash flow. You know, if you want your business to take on a life of its own one day, if someday, one day, you want to be able to step aside and have that income have a degree of permanence predicated upon the ongoing consumption of product, there is no more precious principle than the principle of auto ship. One thing that I have learned is that only if you embrace auto ship yourself will people in your group similarly embrace auto ship. You know, I know almost all of the really big earners, not just in MonaVie, but in the network marketing industry. I know almost all of them, and all of them, everyone, has built a business that has a solid auto ship foundation. And there are a few things that I say. I know I say a lot and I say it kind of fast, but I want this phrase to really burn itself into your mind, and I want you to always remember it now for yourself and in the future as you're guiding others through this process. If your business does not have a solid auto ship foundation, then it will be like a morning mist when the sun comes out. If someday, one day, you want the business to take on a life of its own, if you want your income to take on a degree of permanence based upon the ongoing consumption of large numbers of people, auto ship is critical. In order for people in your group to embrace auto ship, my whole life experience suggests to me that you as an individual need to embrace auto ship. And so I encourage you to take step number 3. Step number 1 is to enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3 is to establish your own auto ship. Step number 4 is to acquire the initial toolkit. Someone was kind enough to give you this Getting Started workbook. Someone was kind enough to put in your hands the workbook and the companion CD, or perhaps they emailed you a file. The person who brought you into the business was prepared to help you get started correctly. I want you to similarly be prepared to help new people who join your business to get started correctly. My years in this industry have proven this to me. There is no luck and there is no guesswork. There is, in fact, a proven and predictable pattern of activities. The whole purpose and design of this Getting Started workbook and companion audio is to help you get started correctly. It is also to enable you to help others start correctly as you begin to successfully build a business. Step number 4 is to acquire the initial MonaVie International Toolkit. And there will be several components to this toolkit. When we get to step number 9, you'll learn a little bit more about those various components, but step number 4 is simply to acquire the toolkit. You know, I learned such an important lesson when I was in high school. I smile when I think about it. It was such a great experience. But I bought an old Chevrolet. It was a 1956. I took it apart and I put it together. And a lesson has stuck in my mind forever since that moment. It doesn't matter how much we know if we don't have the right tool. You know, some of you've had a flat tire and you've changed it. I want you to imagine trying to change the tire without a lug wrench. I want you to imagine trying to take the lug nuts off with your fingers. It's almost impossible, isn't it? It doesn't matter what you know if you don't have the right tool. Some of you have tinkered with car engines. I want you to imagine trying to change a spark plug without a spark plug wrench. It's almost impossible. I would tell you, based on my life experience, that it is similarly almost impossible. It's a task nearly insurmountable for you to be a responsible sponsor, to truly guide others through the correct initiation in our business if you don't have a Getting Started workbook. If the day after tomorrow, after you begin engaging in our correct business building practices, you're so fortunate to enroll a new participant, if at that moment you don't have a Getting Started workbook such that you can open it up and point to the CD and give a specific assignment about how to prepare for your own Getting Started session with that new member, I think the task becomes almost insurmountable. Step number 1 is to enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3 is to establish your own auto ship. Step number 4 is to acquire the initial toolkit. How does one do so? Go to the MonaVie back office. When you log into your MonaVie account, there you will find instruction as to where you can acquire the various tools required to build our business, and simply click on the International Toolkit. Having so done, you will now receive that group of items which I personally believe are most correctly designed to help you not waste time, not waste effort, not waste energy, and not waste money, designed to give you the opportunity to be a responsible sponsor the very first time you bring another person into the business. Step number 5. Step number 5 is to build belief. You know, I was so blessed in all of my years as a distributor in this industry. I think back over that life experience of mine. You know, for 20 years, I built a business, and for just 52 weeks, I built a MonaVie distributorship, was able to build a Black Diamond distributorship in that 52-week period of time. And then one day, Dallin Larson, the owner of the company, or one of the primary owners, asked me to change my role so that my life experience and my background could impact all international distributors, not just those in my particular group. But I think back of that experience, an experience where for years and years and years, I had a cash flow that was beyond anyone's imagination, and a cash flow that was absolutely permanent, that had a life of its own. And I think, why did my business look so different than so many other people? And I think that it's partly because my business became easy one day when I got across the bridge of belief. You see, we find ourselves on this bridge of belief, and there really are three ways that we must be across that bridge of belief. The first bridge that we have to be across is the bridge of belief as it relates to the industry of network marketing. See, what do you really believe about network marketing? When you tell your husband or your wife, your boyfriend or your girlfriend that you've recently become involved in a network marketing company or a multi-level marketing company, how does that make you feel? Do you feel confident? Do you feel secure? Do you feel like you have something for them? Or does that make you pull back just a little bit? You see, if you can't say with confidence, this is the very best thing that you have ever been introduced to, you're not across the bridge of belief. You see, the reason the business is easy for me is because I believe absolutely and to the center of my being that the fundamental principles which govern network marketing are superior to the principles which govern conventional business. I absolutely believe that. I believe that network marketing is not just a better way to move products to end-line users. I believe that it's a better way to generate income, and I believe that ultimately it's a better way to live. I've been so fortunate and so blessed to be in this industry, and then so doubly fortunate and blessed to find this singular, unique, absolutely very best company in the industry, in my opinion, that, of course, being MonaVie. Well, how does one get across that bridge of belief? You know, if I were with you personally right now, I would again pose this simple question. What do you really think about the industry? Are you confident? Are you secure? Do you feel good about it? And periodically people say, well, yes. And sometimes a person is willing to admit to me, no, Randy, I'm a little bit afraid of it. I'm a little bit concerned. Okay, I want to help you get across that bridge of belief. And so here I'll give you an assignment. When we get to step number 9, we'll talk about the various components in the toolkit, and we'll talk about understanding the toolkit in order to help you get completely across this bridge of belief about the network marketing industry. I'll remind you why it was important to take step 4 to acquire the toolkit, because now I'm going to ask that you accept an assignment that in the next 48 hours you review a DVD that is called The Evolution of Network Marketing. In this history of our industry, nearly a 100-year-long history, you'll come to understand the things that I know about this industry that make it so precious and so beautiful. Well, we've got to get across this bridge of belief of network marketing. And my question to you was, how do you feel? And I told you that I believe that the fundamental principles which govern this industry are superior to those which govern conventional business. I'll give you just two quick examples of why I believe that's true, and then refer you back to that DVD, The Evolution of Network Marketing. I think of the days when I was a stockbroker. I was very fortunate. I was quite successful as a stockbroker. And I think of my days of celebration. My days of celebration were always those days when I had opened a big new account. And so I was celebrating. I was filled with joy because I'd opened this big new account. That was a personal success. Well, now let's stop and think about it for a moment. Where did the new account come from? Where did it come from? It didn't materialize out of thin air. The day that I was celebrating, the day that I got an account, that was born of someone else's sorrow. My success was born of someone else's defeat. I got an account, somebody else lost it. When the principles of network marketing are properly applied, your every success is born of someone else's success. Wow, what a huge difference. In this competitive world in which we live, in most conventional business methodologies, your success will be born of someone else's failure. You got the account, someone lost the account. You made the sale, someone lost the sale. You closed the deal, someone else did not. In this business, when its principles are properly applied, and that's that which I hope to teach you and to do with you, your every success will be born of other people's success. That's clearly and obviously better. One more quick thought. One of the things I love about this industry is that we can recruit our way out of our weakness. Periodically I'll have someone say, oh, well, gosh, Randy, it's so great for these other people, but it's not good for me. One of the things that I love is that we can recruit our way out of our weakness. I met somebody last week and said, Randy, I think I'm too old. I said, well, I don't think you are. But if you think you're too old, who do you know that's younger? Go sponsor someone who's younger. If you're too young, sponsor someone who's older. I remember years ago in the industry, I was involved with a company and we were delivering a product that lowered cholesterol. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be just great if I was a doctor? And then I realized that I had two choices. I could go to school for 12 years to become a physician and have that credibility, or I could go sponsor one. You see, I absolutely love this industry. Why? Because it allows me and it allows you to sponsor our way out of our perceived weaknesses. And notice I choose my words carefully, out of our perceived weaknesses, because the weaknesses are seldom real. They're always perception. Well, step number 5 is to build belief, first in the network marketing industry. Second, I have talked principally about the industry. And of course, by the time we came together for this session, you had already joined me in the belief that within the industry, MonaVie is special. You've become a MonaVie distributor. Let me now tell you that based on my 20 years life experience in this industry, that while there are a host of good companies, there is a significant difference in being a good company and being a good opportunity. I think there's also a big difference in being an opportunity to create income and an opportunity to create wealth. Seldom do the various elements come together in such a fashion that the opportunity exists for widespread success instead of narrow success. Seldom do the elements come together which make possible breakthroughs in financial success and that make possible the creation of wealth. If you've looked carefully at MonaVie, you've come to understand that that has already evidenced itself as being a reality for many. Can it become a reality for you? That is predicated upon willingness. That is predicated on a whole bunch of work. But the fact that it's possible for others evidences to me that it's in fact possible for you. Together, it's my goal and objective to help you stick the key in the lock of success. Well, we have to get across this bridge of belief as it relates to the network marketing industry. Second, my business became easy very quickly upon aligning myself with MonaVie. Why? Because I do believe that there is one single, unique company within the industry that stands alone, that does represent the absolute very, very best chance for success, and that company is MonaVie. One must develop and build belief in MonaVie in two ways, as it relates to the company and also as it relates to the MonaVie product. My simple encouragement to you to build belief about the MonaVie product is just consume it. It's all I'll invite you to do. Just consume it. You know, for so many years in this industry, I built my business almost in spite of the product line, not because of it. This is the first time in my whole career that I've been willing to say to someone, let your decision to go forward in this company be based upon your own consumption of the juice. And my simple invitation to you is this. Drink a bottle of juice, and after you drink the first one, find out if you want the second. If you do, you just proved the business to yourself. And the reason this company has had such stunning success is because time after time after time after time, when a person consumes bottle one, they want bottle two. By the time they've consumed 3 or 4, they find themselves being compelled to tell other people about it. I believe that will be your experience. Gaining belief in the MonaVie product, first, I believe, centers around your own consumption. Second, I invite you to study every single piece of literature, audio, and video that the company itself makes available about the MonaVie product line. This will grow your belief. First, one must get across the bridge of belief as it relates to the network marketing industry. Second, one must get across the bridge of belief as it relates to MonaVie, the company. Next, one must get across the bridge of belief as it relates to MonaVie, the product. And finally, one must get across the bridge of belief as it relates to you. You see, here's what I believe. I believe that the network marketing industry is an absolute thing of beauty. I believe the fundamental principles which govern this industry are superior to those which govern conventional business. I believe that within the industry there is one company that stands alone. That's MonaVie, and I believe this product is absolutely perfect in its design for our industry. I believe those things, and you know what? I believe that I can do it. See, at the very moment that you share those 3 beliefs, that's the moment where, based on my life experience, your business gets easier. Why? Because this is a business of attraction, and when you have those beliefs, other people know it. They know what you believe intuitively. I would hope that everything that you tell them they believe, but they know what you believe at a different level than what you tell them. You need to get across that bridge of belief. So here in step number 5, some specific assignments for you. Review the Evolution of Network Marketing DVD. Review another DVD called 20 Years. That 20-year DVD, it's 4 short video clips, and the title says 20 years. What I've learned in 20 years, you can learn in 20 minutes. Literally, my life experience of 20 years, the most important lessons of that 20 years in this industry have been broken down to those 4 short video clips. So assignment number 1, review the Evolution of Network Marketing DVD. Do it in the next 48 to 72 hours. And by the way, I believe that you should do that at least every week for the first 52 weeks that you're involved in the business. Assignment number 2, review that second DVD, 20 years. What I've learned in 20 years, you can learn in 20 minutes. Assignment number 3, review everything that MonaVie has produced and is available in your back office as it relates to the MonaVie product and as it relates to MonaVie, the company. Review the income disclosure statement. These are absolutely incredible belief-building tools as it relates to MonaVie, the company. To develop a belief in yourself that you can succeed simply requires a decision to become willing. Because I want you to understand what this whole process is designed to do. Remember at the very outset, I stated that my belief is that you as an individual have the talents required to succeed. But I then went on to say that talent does not produce success in our industry, skill does. It's those who work and work and work to refine those talents into skills. Well, between here and there, what do? The whole purpose of this Getting Started workbook, the whole purpose of the toolkit has been designed to allow you to borrow the skills of others to become profitable and to almost force you to develop new skills yourself as you steadily and consistently guide others through this correct 10-step Getting Started process. Step number 1 is to enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3 is to establish auto-ship. Step number 4 is to acquire the international toolkit made available by MonaVie. Step number 5 is to build your belief. Build belief in the network marketing industry. Build belief in MonaVie, the company, and MonaVie, the product. Build belief in you yourself and your own capacities to succeed in the business. Step number 6 is easy if you did step number 5 right. And by the way, some of these steps we only take once. Some of these steps we live. You only enroll in MonaVie once. You only place one initial order. Hopefully the one initial order you place is appropriate. Otherwise, you got to go back and do some other work. But you know what? Step number 5, I live in it. See, I want you to imagine that bridge again. Your ability to succeed, in my estimation, is not based on where you are on the bridge. If you can just imagine the left side of the bridge being a lack of belief and the right side of the bridge being complete belief in those 3 critical areas, the industry, MonaVie, and yourself. See, it's not where you are on the bridge, it's your direction of travel. If you're brand new to our company, but you're moving in the right direction on the bridge, your confidence is growing in each of those 3 key areas, you can be successful in the business. You know, sometimes I meet people who've been around for a while and they've had some kind of a shock to their system. They've had some kind of a disappointment. And even though they were a long ways across the bridge of belief, now they are going backwards. You know, it's not about where you are on the bridge. It's about your direction of travel. If you're moving towards more confidence, belief, and conviction, you can be effective. If somehow, for some reason, you're slipping away from those basic beliefs, then you cannot be effective. That's why I choose to live in step 5. I live in step 5. I am constantly engaged in processes and practices that cause my confidence to become greater, greater, and greater as it relates to my belief in the effectiveness of the network marketing industry, as it relates to my belief in the absolute beauty, the majesty of what is the MonaVie opportunity and company and product. And I continually engage myself in practices that cause me to become more self-certain and more self-secure about my own abilities to succeed. Well, step number 6 is pretty easy if you live in step 5. Step number 6 is to create an initial candidate list. And now in the Getting Started workbook, you'll notice as you've been going through the workbook as a companion to this audio, that now there's a place for you to identify an initial candidate list. And notice I emphasize that word initial. I think that there is a single correct, I think there is a right way to do this business. You know, I've listened to a lot of leaders teach, and periodically I'll hear someone and they'll say, you know what, your very first presentation, I want you to get your absolute best and brightest, the strongest, the most awesome people that you know in the room. You know, having been at this now for a long period of time, here's my greatest goal. My greatest goal is that your very first home business presentation be a positive experience. And so here's what I know, without even knowing you. I know there are a group of people in your world who know you, trust you, respect you, and love you. These are the people that I want to have on that initial candidate list. I want the people who participate in your first home business presentation, the first people who hear about this business from you. I want them to be people who love you, not people who will put you to a very, very serious test. Those are the people that I want to have first on that list. I want them to be there because they love you. I want your first experience to be a positive experience. And by the way, we're going to talk about home business reviews in a little bit. You know, these first people on the candidate list, these are the first people who are going to participate in your first home business presentation. Well, step number 6 is to create an initial candidate list. And here's what I encourage you to do. I encourage you to now push pause. And if you're face-to-face with your sponsor, with your enroller in the business, then I would like you two together to construct a list of the first 30 or 40 people that pop into your mind with these following criteria. First, I want you to write down a list of 8 or 10 or 12 people who know you, trust you, respect you, where you have great relationship, and who will come to your first home business review, not necessarily because they're going to join the business, but because they're there to support you in your effort. That's that first group of people. The second group of people is I want you to identify a group of the best and the brightest and the strongest people you know. We're going to talk to them on about business presentation number 3. And then, having identified those first 2 groups, now I just want you to let your pen fly and keep writing until you've completely filled in every blank that is in the Getting Started workbook preliminary candidate list. Your assignment before this 24-hour period ends is for you to identify enough candidates such that every line on those pages in the Getting Started workbook have been completed. And I strongly encourage and urge you to do this. Don't decide for anybody else. Don't decide for anyone else. I'll just tell you that there are no new mistakes in network marketing. There are new people making old mistakes, and there are old people making old mistakes. And I hear so often, oh gosh, Tom's not going to do this because. Let's let Tom decide. Let's let Tom decide whether or not he's going to do it. Don't decide for anybody else. Nobody had a right to decide for me. I think of how many years earlier I might have been in this industry had people not decided for me that I wasn't interested. Oh, not Randy. My gosh, Randy's a stockbroker and he's really successful. How many years of suffering did I have in that industry because somebody decided for me that I was not interested? Finally, one day, someday, it was my attorney that called me and he said, Randy, you need to be interested in this. I think if someone had called me 5 years earlier, I would have been in the industry 5 years earlier. I'd have had 5 years less pain in the stock brokerage industry, and I'd have had 5 years more success in this incredible industry, all leading up to and preparing me for the magic moment when finally someday, one day, I was introduced to MonaVie. Step number 6 is to create an initial candidate list. That is an easy task. That's an easy task if you're living in step 5. And by the way, we can now check whether you're a person who is brand new and this is your own Getting Started training, or whether you're now a leader who is guiding a new person through this process, or anything in between, you can now check the measure of your own belief. If your candidate list is big, your belief is high. If your candidate list is small, your belief is low. And this is an interesting thing. For 20 years I've been in this industry. One of the hallmarks of my success has been that I've been a prolific recruiter. I have simply sponsored more people than anybody else that I know. And I want you to know that I've never had to turn to advertising. I don't advertise. I don't do search engines. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't need to. Why? Because I have found that it's possible to so live our lives that our candidate list is constantly growing in front of us. Now, that'll be something that we teach you as we go along. There is such a thing as being a network marketing professional. In this getting started training, there's no need. Because why? Because you have the wonderful advantage of having a brand new, fresh candidate list, and there's no need to get into these other principles of having a candidate list grow in front of you. We'll address that in a later training. Step number 1, enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2, place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3, establish your auto ship. Step number 4, acquire the initial international toolkit. Step number 5, build your belief. Build belief in what? The network marketing industry. MonaVie is a company, an opportunity, and a product within the industry, yourself and your own capacities to succeed. Step number 6 is to create an initial candidate list. Now, obviously, I have repeated those things several times. Do you know when your business will begin to take on a life of its own? Project yourself into the future and imagine that now you have a group of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people who are in your organization. When you can stand in front of a group of your organization members and just say quickly, tell me right now, what's step 1, what's 2, what's 7, what's 6, what's 9, what's 8, what's 10, and why? When you have a group of people who know what every step is and who know why the step exists, now you have a business that has a solid chance of replicating. Now you have a business that is based upon a replicatable process as opposed to a business that is based upon the unique skill set of 1 or 2 people. Man, what I just said was so important. All of these years later, all of these years of success, I maybe have just told you one of the most important things you're going to hear. When you have a business that is predicated upon a process which can duplicate instead of upon the unique skill sets of 1 or 2 people, now you have a business that can take on a life of its own. Now there's a fighting chance that your income can be predicated on the successes of others. Now you can legitimately look to the day where if you want to step aside, you can, with an anticipation of your income continuing to grow based upon other people's success. Step number 7. Step number 7 is so important. I always hesitate to say that there's any one step that's more important than any of the others because, my gosh, if you don't take step number 1, nothing can happen. If you don't take step 2, and you get it, they're all important. But if I was to identify one of these steps that has been most pivotal in my own success, I would say that step is step number 7. What is step number 7? Step number 7 is to learn how to invite. Now I just want you to imagine in your mind's eye, I hope you have a vivid imagination like I do. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye a brand new distributor. Maybe it's you can imagine. A brand new distributor, and just for fun, let's call this distributor Joe. So here we have this brand new distributor named Joe. Joe has joined us literally today. Well, tomorrow, Joe will begin interacting with his prospects. And so now in your mind's eye, just imagine 2 figures. Imagine Joe and imagine Joe's prospect. And I can kind of imagine and envision what the dialogue might be. Joe's prospect says, well, Joe, that sounds really cool. How much money have you made? And Joe says, well, I haven't made any money. I only got involved yesterday. And so now Joe's prospect says, well, wait a minute. You're going to try to teach me how to do something you haven't done? You've made no money, and yet you want me to join you in a business? See, folks, that's one of the fundamental challenges in our industry. How do you propose to cause others to join you in a process where you have not yet proven success? And then it goes on a little bit. And then Joe's prospect says, well, Joe, how much do you know about the business? And Joe's response is, well, I've been involved for about 24 hours. I don't know much. And then Joe's prospect says, and how much do you know about the skills that are required to succeed? And now you see, I've just shown you the single biggest challenge in our business. Joe's prospect is making a decision based upon Joe's reality. Here is the magic, the absolute magic. The very second that Joe learns how to invite, now his prospect will see MonaVie. MonaVie is the opportunity. It's not Joe, and it's not you, and it's not me. The second Joe learns how to invite, now Joe's prospect will see MonaVie, and there's a fighting chance for success. Step number 7 is so critically important, and so now here I give you an assignment. 3 times in the next 24 hours, listen to the invitation CD. That goes back to step number 4, which is to what? Acquire the initial toolkit. Hopefully your enroller took step number 4 and can now put in your hand that CD, the invitation. In the invitation, here's what you'll be taught. You'll be taught to be scripted. I was first taught to be scripted so many years ago, not in the network marketing industry. I was taught to be scripted when I was a stockbroker. I was at Merrill Lynch, and I was taught to use scripts. And I have to tell you, I was very, very uncomfortable with that, because in my mind, who uses a script? An actor or an actress, and so therefore it's not real, it's imaginary. I've learned over the years that that's not true. I've learned that being scripted simply means that we are prepared. It means that I know, it means that you know what we will say, and it means that we know what we will not say. And that's so critically important. When one learns how to invite, it simply means that you're prepared. Being scripted simply means that you are prepared. And here I would ask you this simple question. Do you know the difference in being a professional and an amateur in anything? What's the difference in a professional golfer and an amateur golfer? Well, professionals get paid and amateurs don't. I want you to know that the world is full of amateurs in network marketing. The world has very, very few professionals in network marketing. To the extent that you are willing to develop the skill of inviting and take one more step, to the extent that you stay engaged in the process until such time as you have been effective at transferring the skill of inviting to a group of people, in large measure, you've now become a network marketing professional, and you'll get paid for those efforts. Step number 7 is to learn how to invite. The specific assignment, listen to the invitation CD, listen to it 3 times in the next 24 hours. Do not begin to think of talking to a candidate or a prospect until you've listened to it. Go to the MonaVie website and download the invitation scripts that are the companion to the audio file. Review the physical hard copy script as you review the audio file. And then as we get ready to start the actual inviting process, you'll be able to compare the script to the candidate on the candidate list. You'll know what to say and what not to say, and this business is an absolute dream. Step number 1, enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3 is to establish auto ship. Step number 4 is to acquire the initial toolkit. Step number 5 is to build belief. Step 6 is to create an initial candidate list. And step 7 is to learn how to invite so that your candidate has a chance to see MonaVie. Once again, MonaVie is the opportunity, not you, not me, not your sponsor, not your upline. The opportunity is MonaVie. To the extent that you learn how to invite, your candidate will see the opportunity and the odds of success skyrocket. Step number 8, to learn how to effectively conduct home business presentations. And I just said a moment ago that step number 7 was the most important, and now I'm going to tell you that step number 8 is pretty darn important. I'm so fascinated when I see people misunderstanding the primary purpose. What is the primary purpose, the primary goal of a home business presentation? I call them home business reviews. A lot of people call them tasting parties. What's the primary purpose? I want you to understand that home business presentation is the basic leadership development factory of our entire industry. That is the basic leadership development factory of MonaVie. What is the primary purpose of conducting a home business review? It is for you to develop skills. There are all kinds of wonderful secondary outcomes that can also occur. You can enroll people. You can sell bottles of juice. You can get samples into people's hands. There are all kinds of positive secondary outcomes. But the primary purpose is for you to begin to develop leadership skills. I, again, been at this for a long time, and every single person that I know who's become substantially successful has learned how to effectively conduct home business presentations. Step number 8 is that very thing. Now here, I encourage you to push pause and listen to a separate CD. That CD is called HBR Basics, Home Business Review Basics. And you'll notice in the workbook there is a checklist. And I would like you to listen to that CD as you go through the checklist, because now we'll begin preparing to actually engage in the fundamentally correct business building practices. We're going to get ready now to begin scheduling your first home business presentations. In advance of that presentation, it will be critically important that we get in front of common mistakes. And I'll again say that in this industry, there are no new mistakes. In MonaVie, there are no new mistakes. There are new people making old mistakes, and there are old people making old mistakes. Let's get in front of them. In such a great degree, we can do that with HBR Basics. That is step number 8. Now, step number 9 is to understand both the primary purpose and the secondary values of all of these various components of the toolkit. The primary purpose of your first look is for your candidate to understand what MonaVie is. You learn how to invite, to let a tool talk, and now we place that CD into your candidate's hands. Well, the primary purpose of your first look is for your candidate to understand what this MonaVie opportunity is. That's the primary purpose. But it has a secondary value. The secondary value, if there ever comes a time when you find yourself inching the wrong direction on that bridge of belief and you've only got just a couple of moments, plug that first look in. That is an absolutely great belief building tool. It'll remind you of what it was that you saw in the very beginning. So what's the primary purpose? For your candidate's first look at the business. What's an example of a secondary value? It is a great, short, concise belief building tool. What is the primary purpose of the Getting Started workbook? Well, the primary purpose of the Getting Started workbook is for you to correctly start, to walk through, to come to understand what these 10 steps to getting started are. That's the primary purpose. What's the secondary value? I've had so many people of significance in the industry choose to join our business because they saw that there actually is a proven and predictable pattern of activities. I want you to know, based on my entire life experiences, there is no luck and there is no guesswork. If A, then B, then C, then D, there is a process. We can eliminate luck. We can eliminate guesswork. There is a proven, predictable pattern of activities. And so the primary purpose of the Getting Started workbook and companion audio is for you to get started correctly. But you know what? Its secondary purpose, it can be a great, quote, closing tool. I've had people ask me so many times, Randy, will you close my prospect? No, I won't close your prospect. I don't want to be closed, and I don't think you do either. But what I will do is help a person arrive at his or her own point of logical conclusion in the shortest possible period of time. I remember the first time that I went to a network marketing presentation. I just loved it. I didn't like it. I loved it. I was recently in Singapore, and I made that statement on stage, and somebody raised their hand and said, well, what did you love? And here's what I loved. I was successful in the world's eye at that moment as a stockbroker. I was making quite a bit of money. But the person that was teaching, that was talking about network marketing, he had a different quality of life than mine. I could see that. There was nothing about him that set him apart from the crowd. He wasn't necessarily sparkling or articulate or brilliant, but he was making 3 times as much money as me. Now, the fact that he was making much more money than me, that was one thing. But here was the key. He was working when he wanted. He was working where he wanted. He was working with whom he wanted. And he was working if he wanted. That was a higher quality of income. That was a higher quality of life experience than I was having or was ever going to have if I stayed in my chosen endeavor. And so that's what I fell in love with. But, I still couldn't act upon that. I absolutely loved everything about it. But it wasn't until someone showed me what to do, not just what the opportunity is. It was when someone showed me what to do. Randy, these are the steps you'll need to take. And when I saw what was required, and when I correctly understood that I could do it, when I came to see that there was a tool set that I could use and that I could borrow somebody else's skills as I developed my own, all of that's what caused me to be able to say yes. And so you see, so frequently for me, while this Getting Started workbook has a primary purpose of helping a person get started correctly, what's its secondary value? And maybe this secondary value should be a co-equal primary value. That's that it helps people decide. Yes, I can get involved in this business because I can see there is a process here that will allow me within the context of my busy life to become profitable and effective and efficient. I can see that I'm doing something for people. I can see that I have something to offer to others because there is a proven and predictable pattern of activities. Well, my time's about spent for this session, so I won't go into a further description of the primary and secondary values of every tool, but you will learn those in subsequent trainings. Step number one is to enroll in MonaVie. Step number 2 is to place an appropriate initial order. Step number 3 is to establish your own auto ship. Step number 4 is to acquire the initial international toolkit. Step number 5 is to build your own belief as it relates to this industry, to this company, to this product, and yourself. Step 6 is to create an initial candidate list. Step 7 is to learn how to invite. Step 8 is to learn how to effectively conduct home business presentations, recognizing that this is the primary leadership development factory in our business. Step number 9 is to understand, to own, to understand and be able to properly use all of the tools in the toolkit. And step number 10 is to act upon steps number 1 through 9 in the next 2 weeks and effectively and successfully conduct your first 2 home business reviews or tasting parties within the next 14 days. Now, 20 years ago, I went to that very first network marketing presentation. I loved everything that I saw, and now I know that I spent the next 19 years in preparation for my affiliation with MonaVie. MonaVie is without question the singular, unique, standalone beacon in this industry, and I absolutely have come to love it, to love the people that are involved in it, both those at ownership and management and distributor leadership. You have been given a chance to, in significant fashion, improve your life, and I'm hoping so much that you'll embrace that chance. I look forward to my personal association with you, and I'll remind you in conclusion that I said a long time ago, about 50 minutes ago in this presentation, I said that the single characteristic most prevalent in those who really succeed is willingness. And so I'm going to encourage you now to be willing to act upon steps number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm further going to encourage you to be a responsible sponsor, which means that every time you enroll someone, you be prepared, put the Getting Started workbook in their hand, you point to the companion CD, give an assignment to review that CD twice, then get back together within 24 to 48 hours. You be a responsible sponsor. You guide them through the process. The absolute outcome is that you will develop skills, and skills properly developed and applied to this business can be life-changing. Not surprisingly, there are rules in our industry, and we, of course, comply with them entirely. Those rules require that we give you the following verbiage, simply stating that MonaVie does not guarantee any level of income or earnings to a distributor. Earnings from the MonaVie compensation plan depend completely on the sales and each distributor's skill, ability, and personal application. In other words, this is not a lottery. This is a business. It requires effort. It requires work. It requires the development of skills. I really encourage you to see the MonaVie income disclosure statement at www.monavie.com, because there you'll find complete details regarding the earnings of MonaVie distributors. And while this is a disclosure piece, I will tell you that I consider it to be an incredible marketing piece, because you can there identify your own income need. You can find where that need is met in the compensation plan. You can then approach your upline, a tour guide, and say, what have I got to do to gain this rank so I can earn the incomes that are described on the MonaVie income disclosure statement? And please understand that product purchase is not required to become a MonaVie distributor, and participation in the auto ship program is not required to be a distributor. Also, please understand that one need not acquire tools to become a distributor. These things that we do to facilitate your business, they're things that I personally believe will help your business, but understand, you don't have to purchase products to be a distributor, you don't have to be on auto ship, and you don't have to buy sales tools. All of that said, get yourself on the bus. There's a seat for you. You might be wondering exactly who I am and what my affiliation is. My name is Randy Schrader, and I have been a full-time participant in this network marketing industry for 20 years. I believe that 20 years ago I was put in the top of a funnel, and for 20 years I was working my way closer to the day when I would find the opportunity, which of course I now know to be MonaVie. I became a MonaVie distributor on August 28th of 2008. The next 52 weeks were for me a joy. I consider them to have been the most productive 52 weeks of my entire career. During that time I became a Black Diamond, built a remarkable distributorship. And then my long-term friend Dallin Larson, one of the founders, the CEO of MonaVie, asked me if I'd be willing to change my role. And the change that he asked was for me to stop being a distributor. At first, that was an uncomfortable thought. For the last 20 years, being a network marketing distributor is not just what I do, it's what I am. But Dallin said, Randy, I want your life experiences to impact all of the international development of MonaVie, not just your business. Would you do it? And only because it was Dallin, I said yes. And so what is my role specifically? I am the International Distributor Ambassador. I am in partnership with you in the development of your MonaVie business.